like I said, you had a vision. Like you went there to train. You stepped into the footsteps of training against anyone that you think will push you. What did that feel like? I mean, that's discipline too. What was that? What was that commitment like to do that? To start there first. What was that commitment like?
It felt good because I wasn't training for anything necessarily but life. As much as life has kicked me in my teeth, knocked me down, I've always found a way to get back up. So while I was training, it was like, you gonna fight or you gonna fold.
Mm.
And it just came to that point where like you're not gonna outlast me, you're not gonna outwork me, you're not gonna do anything to make me drop in this workout. You can put me head to head with anybody. It don't matter if it look like I'm gassed, I ain't got no energy. Whatever workout you want to do, I'm here for it. And I'm gonna either go head to head with you or I'm gonna be above you. It doesn't matter.
So bam, that's why they want to skip that. Because like you said, you didn't have to. Some people say, well, I just have to, why do this if I'm not training for this? And why do that? You were training for life, which health and fitness is a lifestyle, like you said, with top notch. That's why you're able to say that and it not be cliche and not just be a tagline, but it literally be every essence of your fiber. Because when you were training at pot, you didn't have to do that. You trained and you were just training for life. The symbolism of I'm not going to be knocked down, which if you all listening, remember the story of his story being knocked down. But in life, you are an athlete in life, not just on the track, not just these other things, but you're an athlete in life too. And at that point, you stepped in and did something you didn't have to do. So it's always going to take something for us to tap in and do something we don't have to do, but that we have a desire to do it. And you got to find deep down inside why you have that desire. Okay. So that's why you were training. Then you went to certification. For some people, they don't even know what that means. So what did you have to do for a certification? Like what is that process?
So the certification, you definitely pay your money. You get scheduled for the class. You sit down, you retain the knowledge. I say some courses are longer than others, but the specific course I took was, I say, about a 3 day maximum. But they crammed you with information. They basically walked you through the whole thing. And then at the end of all 3 days, you would take the test.
Exactly. And that is the toughest one, the one that for those 3 days. So what he's saying, I'm gonna translate this for y'all. What he's saying is gonna take discipline and focus, because sitting down 3 days and getting a plethora of information, you do, like he said, there's some certifications that they will stretch it all the way out and it's bite size. That still takes discipline and focus, because you may lose track and miss time and you can't do that. But those cram ones, you got to sit and get all that and make sure you have it, because you're going to have an exam. You're going to have to take an examination to pass it at a certain percentage in order to move on. And so please don't just think, certification, it sounds light. You take a certification, you study for it. All right, you got certified. Now let's move on from that to now you're starting to train others. How did that happen? Now start building that up. You had a contract, that other one fell through because of the pandemic. Then you had another situation after that. Now start building up from there.
So when I got to FEL, of course, I knew how to train originally. And you know where I came from, Cat Fitness. It was all about doing over and beyond. So
yes.
so anything I was doing was over and beyond. So I knew how to do the calisthenics, the HIIT workouts. I specialized in weight loss at the time. Excuse me. I specialized in weight loss at the time, and of course I did like an athletic program. More so. So when I got over there and I touched weights for, I say the first time I was like officially touch weights for the first time, like you're supposed to, with form and everything, it wasn't a shock to me, but it was new. My body started to change in ways that I, never knew. I'm originally 175 type of dude. I get over there, I start eating what I'm supposed to, or eating what I need to gain the size that I need. And I jumped up to 200 quick. I say about a month or two, and not 200 of just weight, like 200 of muscle.
Muscle lean.
Exactly. So me having that in my back pocket, along with just the cardio portion, athletic portion. It was basically just an all around feel of, okay, now I can really do anything. But once I went through prep and learned that whole bid, it helped me with my clients. It helped me basically sculpt them. It helped me drop, help them gain the way they wanted to. It really just opened my eyes to another spectrum of training. And that's also when I took my class seriously as well.
Because you also did, you started dabbling into boxing, right?
Well, I did dabble into boxing. That was
Okay.
actually a great trait that I learned. And also step.
So listen, that's what, because with the boxing and with everything, first of all, everything you already been talking about is we talk about mentality. Anything that you deal with is talking about mentality, whatever you're trying to achieve. I know you assess that with your clients. You have to, one thing you will find out as a personal trainer is when you deal with clientele, you're not just training their body. You're a psychologist, because you're dealing with different people and how they feel mentally. Sometimes they just show up to train and they just want a information dump and everything else is going on. And sometimes they want you to push them to go through whatever. So you have to have that. But you already had a strong mental by what what you went through. But so now you have experiential learning. You had your personal injury, you POC fitness, like you said, you cover everything. I mean, cover everything. Amazing. Shout out to you, Coach Carter. Also with now moving and getting the functional training, form and all that good stuff, going into boxing, again, mental, bodybuilding.
Yes.
So you still do that, or what did you gain from the bodybuilding as well?
I gained a lot from the bodybuilding. Actually, Mr. Reps, he was my bodybuilding coach, gave me the whole plan and everything, the layout. So he gave me an online program. I probably worked out with him, I'd say about 5 times in that whole process. But the whole process was okay, body sculpt, repetition, same workouts, different executions.
Mm.
So with that is I learned is so many different ways you can execute one workout to
Mm.
hit different or the same muscle groups to where okay, you want it to look like this, but you really can't reach that muscle that you're looking for because all you ever learned is okay, work the big muscles and not the small ones.
Right.
But at the same time, when you get into the intricate movements and it's just functional movements, they most of the time go in the same direction, but it's just the angles. And sometimes you need certain machines. But a lot of people, well, some people actually get that. And a lot of people ask me when I go to the gym, okay, you're doing this looks unique, but it's just a regular exercise.
Wow. So like you just said, you discovered you can get the same result, but there may be different ways to get there.
Exactly.
Just like in life, right? So there's different ways. It's not just this one way. And sometimes we just stuck in this one way. But because of your journey, your experience, you were able to learn so many various ways. So now when you give back to clients, you can literally assess them and address them where they're at. You can look at, okay, we're still not getting this result. We could pivot, do this. We could pivot to do that. So you have diverse knowledge in that. And not only that, you have that diverse knowledge in life. Being so young, you were able to pivot. You were able to say, okay, it's not one way. You were able to bodybuild in life, right? And so you're doing that as you go. You have so much more to accomplish. Like I said, people, he's young, but listen to this. So age is not an excuse. It literally can be just a number if you focus and you want to execute and you insert yourself, just like Top Notch have done. And that's why he's top notch.